Ladies and gentlemen, good day to you all in your respective latitudes and different time zones around the world. Greetings from Kingston, Jamaica. As you know, my name is Ileana Lopez. I am the program officer for the protocol concerning especially protected areas and wildlife, SPAW. And it's for me an honor, and I feel very happy to be your MC today. The Secretariat welcomes participants to the 11th meeting of the contracting parties, COP, to the protocol concerning especially protected areas and wildlife in the wider Caribbean region. The Secretariat also wishes to welcome the government of Barbados for graciously hosting the virtual session of the 12th meeting of contracting parties to the specially protected areas and wildlife protocol. The Secretariat welcomes His Excellency, Minister Romauld Ferreira, who is going to join us after the first opening speakers. He is from the Minister of Environment and Housing from the government of Bahamas as our main guest at the opening ceremony. The Secretariat also acknowledges with appreciation the support of the United Nations Environment Program, Ecosystem Division, for sponsoring this meeting, and the United Nations Environment as a whole for their support. For all the efforts, work, and sponsors that make possible our IGMs, please, I wish to imagine an applause, a very strong applause. At this moment, I would like to invite Ms. Lorna Inniss, the Principal Coordination Officer of the Cartagena Convention Secretariat. Please let me welcome Ms. Lorna Inniss. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. Your Excellency, Mr. Romauld Ferreira, Minister of Environment and Housing of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and your delegation. Other honorable ministers virtually present today and your delegations, representatives of donor governments, Ms. Kerstin Stendahl, head of the Ecosystems Integration Branch, representing the Executive Director of United Nations Environment Program, representatives of international organizations, partner organizations, directors of the regional activity centers, our dedicated staff members here at the Secretariat, specially invited guests, representatives of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is really a pleasure for me to have you present here today. The COVID-19 pandemic, of course, has continued to cause a little bit of disruption to our normal modes of operation. However, in spite of the difficulties that we all face, I am appreciative of your efforts to be together, even virtually, given our varying time differences. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the 11th meeting of the contracting parties to the protocol concerning specially protected areas and wildlife. My sincere thanks to the government and people of Barbados for graciously agreeing to host this meeting and working with us to ensure its success. The SPAW protocol entered into force in the year 2000 and really has tried to follow an ecosystems approach, supplying a unique legal framework for the conservation of the region's biodiversity, which we know to be extensive. This year signals 21 years since its entry into force, and rest assured that this maturity signals the start of more SPAW and SPAW-related achievements in the region. COP11 will deliberate important agenda items that will effectively support contracting parties in your national and regional actions to sustainably use marine and coastal ecosystem services while reducing adverse human impacts. Given the rich marine biodiversity heritage of the wider Caribbean region, the Secretariat is grateful to all parties, experts, and partners for your support and the trust that you have placed in the SPAW sub-program over the last biennium. I'd like to just point out here that we had a very successful LBS meeting protocol COP yesterday. And the LBS protocol has evolved within the convention very differently from the SPAW protocol. The SPAW protocol, because of the rich diversity of both ecosystems as well as organisms, it is imperative that we work with partners. There's no way that the SPAW protocol can do everything that it needs to do to protect biodiversity in the region on its own, and also pristine areas. And so we really value our partners in the SPAW protocol, and we're glad to welcome you today. Now, we also recognize that with the maturity of the SPAW protocol, that there is a need for some reforms. And the Secretariat, on behalf of the Secretariat, I would like to express our appreciation for to the government of France for your continual, consistent support to the implementation of the SPAW protocol through the Regional Activity Center support in the island of Guadeloupe. The Secretariat and France have already begun discussions recognizing the need for some reforms during this biennium in terms of the relationship between the Regional Activity Center, and I would argue among regional activity centers that support the Secretariat in general and the Secretariat itself. The SPAW and LBS protocols have established these several strategic partnerships, and we have built on them during the last biennium. And we really welcome with appreciation the most recent MOU that was signed with the Gulf and Caribbean Fisheries Institute and with the Marine and Coastal Research Institute, both very long-standing partners of the Secretariat over the years. Additionally, we have two new memoranda of understanding under development with the International Whaling Commission and the Secretariat of the OSPAR Commission, both to be finalized, we hope, before the end of 2021. So during COP11, your parties are expected to agree on actions to reduce harm to marine species and uplift our commitment to the protection and maintenance of biodiversity and habitats in the wider Caribbean region. Now, as I did yesterday, I really want to draw the attention of our audience today to the flags that are inside of the box and those that are outside of the box on the screen. Those that are inside the box, are those that have ratified the SPAW protocol. We really would like, my apologies. We really would like to ensure that we have full ratification for the SPAW protocol as soon as possible during this biennium. We have been trying to see if we can make sure that that all countries engage with the SPAW program, because we recognize that we need all hands on deck in order to support the biodiversity program in the region and to protect and conserve our assets. I officially welcome you to the SPAW COP11 and wish you a fruitful and enlightening meeting that aims to protect the region's biodiversity and hence the livelihoods and well-being of humanity. Thank you very much.
Opening remarks that we receive with appreciation. You know, I was reading recently a paper about musicians, and we yourselves why we are talking about musicians, because sometimes there are impromptu, some small notes that perhaps one musician with all the passion plays as they are performing, and we don't notice. At this time, we did a small impromptu. We were using the banner for the LBS Cup. And now we apologize for that. And I am going to show the background of my presentation, the banner for the SPAW protocol. And we appreciate Dr. Inniss from her opening remarks, for her enthusiasm, passion, and for letting us know the importance about the ratification process. As you are aware, the SPAW protocol has 17 contracting parties, and the parties that are outside the box are the ones that we are aiming to join the SPAW protocol. We have conversations with Guatemala and others, and we will Jamaica, and we will later on mention more. But at this moment, I wish to invite, on behalf of the United Nations Environment Program, Executive Director from the United Headquarters in Nairobi, Ms. Inga Anderson, to Ms. Kerstin Stendahl to deliver the opening remarks. Ms. Stendahl, as you know her, she is from the Ecosystems Division and Integration Branch, where is hosted the regional seas. And without more preamble, I would like to welcome and give a special round of applause to Ms. Kerstin to deliver opening remarks. Kerstin, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ileana, and greetings to all. Let me start by recognizing Your Excellency, Minister Romauld Ferreira, distinguished ministers, heads of delegations, national focal points, and representatives of the contracting parties to the SPAW protocol. Esteemed representatives of international and partner organizations, directors and staff of the regional activity centers, dear Lorna and team, staff of the Cartagena Convention Secretariat, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a great honor to convey this opening message on behalf of UNEP on the occasion of this 11th meeting of the contracting parties to the protocol concerning specially protected areas and wildlife, SPAW, as I will be referring to it in the continued statement, in the wider Caribbean region. Let me also express sorrow for the human suffering and loss incurred in the wider Caribbean as a result of the effects of the global COVID-19 pandemic. It highlights the growing globalization of health risks, as well as the risks of the human-animal ecosystem interface. Over the years, the United Nations Environment Programme has played a pivotal role and led the development of several international conventions and regional agreements in various areas on the environment, including regional seas instruments. Since its inception 40 years ago, the Regional Seas Programme has constituted a unique approach to the protection of the coastal and marine environment. To date, the Regional Seas Programme is administered across 18 regions, governed by annual global meetings of conventions and action plans. UNEP currently administers 7 global and 9 regional conventions, as well as 1 global program of action. The Convention for the Protection and Development of the Marine Environment of the wider Caribbean and its protocols is one of the regional seas programs administered by UNEP. UNEP established the Caribbean Environment Program in 1981 as one of its regional seas programs, in recognition of the importance and value of the wider Caribbean region's fragile and vulnerable coastal and marine ecosystems. Current negative trends in biodiversity and ecosystem integrity undermine progress towards the Sustainable Development Goal targets related to poverty, hunger, health, water, climate, and cities. It is recognized that biodiversity can only be conserved, sustainably used, and restored by addressing all the underlying drivers of change, including the economic factors driving the exploitation and destruction of critical habitats. Biodiversity loss and ecosystem degradation undermines the resilience of our economy and many critical product value chains, and prevents progress towards the SDGs and human well-being. The UNEP medium-term strategy for 2022 to 2025 focuses on people and planet and aims to tackle climate change, loss of nature, and pollution. These three interconnected crises are putting global economic and social well-being at risk. They undermine opportunities to reduce poverty, improve lives, and they complicate the response to the COVID-19 crisis. The medium-term strategy is UNEP's vision for reversing that trajectory. It articulates UNEP's role in delivering the promises on the 2030 agenda, as well as the United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development and its outcome document, The Future We Want. Under the new midterm strategy, UNEP will support countries in developing policies and incentives that address the drivers of biodiversity loss and promote sustainable and inclusive economic activities in line with multilaterally agreed norms and standards. UNEP's support will capitalize on the organization's experience in boosting the financial and technical capacity of countries to fulfill their biodiversity commitments, including the support of the Global Environment Facility. This enables countries to apply science-based approaches for the sustainable use of biodiversity and ecosystem services, and restore and protect the functional capacity and connectivity within and between freshwater, terrestrial, and marine ecosystems. Over the last biennium, we entered a new UN decade, the UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development. It spans the years 2021 to 2030. This UN decade supports efforts to reverse the cycle of decline in ocean health and gather ocean stakeholders worldwide behind a common framework that will ensure that ocean science can fully support countries in creating improved conditions for sustainable development of the ocean. In parallel, the 2021-2030 UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration offers unparalleled opportunity for job creation, food security, and addressing climate change. The sustainable use of marine resources is essential to maintaining and protecting thriving national and local economies throughout the wider Caribbean region in order to reverse the decline in ocean health and prevent degradation of the planet. A key component of this is enabling people around the world to play a part in ocean science by increasing opportunity and sustainable development through the strengthening of connections and partnerships between all stakeholders. UNEP also aims to promote and reinforce ecosystem-based ocean governance based on the Regional Seas Programme and implement its organizational mandate as a custodian of several sustainable development goals. We aim to assist all member states with protecting and restoring freshwater ecosystems and the wealth of freshwater biodiversity they contain. Distinguished delegates, in concluding, let me note that the SPAW protocol is a catalytic regional biodiversity agreement which enhances the protection, conservation, and management of key ecosystems and species in the wider Caribbean. During this COP, you will be expected to agree on actions for the protection and maintenance of the environment in the wider Caribbean region. And I wish you much success in your deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you, Kerstin, for these encouraging words and for reminding us that the SPAW protocol is a catalytic instrument for the conservation of biodiversity. And for those of us that were engaged from early times on the biodiversity, we discover how magnificent is discovering life. We are life and we also host life. We are like an ecosystem. If we ask me why, we host bacteria, viruses in our will, not causing us any sicknesses, and also bad viruses. And then you follow, for example, the development of one larvae of shrimps or some lobsters. You discover how fascinating is biodiversity. I wish to give the most warmest welcome to Mr. Romauld Ferreira, Minister of the Environment and Housing from the government of Bahamas, which we have the pleasure to have today as our main highlight for the opening remarks. Dear Minister, Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Honorable ministers of member states of the Cartagena Convention, virtually present today along with your delegations. Representative of UNEP Executive Director and Head of Ecosystems Integration Branch, Ms. Kerstin Stendahl, Principal Coordination Officer of Cartagena Convention Secretariat, Ms. Lorna Inniss, representatives of donor governments and international organizations, member of United Nations country team in Jamaica, partner organizations, directors and staff of the regional activity centers, the team at the Secretariat, specially invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Like those who've spoken before me, I am pleased to welcome you to the 11th meeting of the contracting parties of COP11 to the protocol concerning specially protected areas and wildlife, the SPAW protocol on behalf of the Bahamas. We are meeting in unprecedented times. It has been more than a year and we're still feeling the full impacts of the pandemic. As a result, we are unable to greet each other in person at this gathering. While the COVID-19 pandemic has generated health, social, and economic consequences, with unknown long-term impacts, the challenges to our environment and biodiversity will remain once the pandemic has passed. It is noteworthy to acknowledge that small island developing states were worst hit in 2020 as a result of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Research demonstrates that the need for effective management of ocean-based sectors, which act as the backbone of most small island developing states and their economies throughout the wider Caribbean region, increasing sustainability and resilience need to be a priority in recovery efforts, highlighting the importance of the support provided by the SPAW protocol. In the EU-funded Asian, Caribbean, and Pacific Multilateral Environmental Agreements project, in fact, SIDS experienced an estimated fall in GDP of 9% in 2020, compared with a decline in other developing countries of 3.3%. The wider Caribbean region contains the largest number of SIDS in any region globally, and by extension, the largest number in any of the regional SEAS program. 116 million people from 39 different countries rely on the Caribbean Sea for their food and their livelihoods and their protection. Over 12,000 marine species have been recorded in the Caribbean region, and coral reefs alone cover approximately 26,000 square kilometers, and seagrass beds and meadows cover another 60,000 square kilometers. Protecting these wider communities and ecosystems is essential to the achievement of the SDG 14, Life Below Water. The effects of the sargassum on the Caribbean have been ever present throughout the last biennium. The Bahamas welcomes the report published by SPAW in the Sargassum White Paper 2021, providing state-of-the-art information for science policy interface and valuable recommendations. This research highlights the negative biophysical and socioeconomic impacts of sargassum. Key sustainable blue economy sectors impacted by sargassum inundations include coastal living and livelihoods, public health, fisheries, and of course, tourism. Further natural disasters such as volcanic eruptions, as in St. Vincent and the Grenadines in April of this year, pose further economic threats to SIDS around the wider Caribbean region. In September 2019, Hurricane Dorian, one of the strongest hurricanes on record, a Category 5, the worst to ever hit the Bahamas, caused massive destruction in the Northwest Islands of Abaco and Grand Bahama. The damage has been estimated by the Inter-American Development Bank at $3.4 billion. Providing support to SIDS is as important as ever throughout the next biennium, and it's a task that will be carefully considered throughout COP11. The prosperity of current and future generations depends on the ability of a healthy ecosystem, the transboundary of collaboration among countries and the international community to preserve and restore the environment and ecosystems and to sustainably manage all natural resources. I sincerely thank the Secretariat. We know that all humanity is living beyond the means of nature to support us, and that we must take drastic and urgent action to halt biodiversity loss and prevent climate change to bring peace, prosperity, and well-being to all human beings. I sincerely thank the Secretariat for the tremendous efforts undertaken in the preparations for this 11th meeting of the contracting parties of COP11 to the protocol concerning the specially protected areas and wildlife SPAW. I take this opportunity to urge those countries who have not ratified the SPAW protocol to ensure that this is an important priority, an important environmental initiative, and put it on your environmental agenda for this biennium. And I urge all countries to participate in the discussions regarding the support of countries to aid in the Secretariat's work. Arrears to the Caribbean Trust Fund should be addressed. We need to advance our common cause to restore our ocean space to a clean, healthy, and vibrant area that drives the economy and the well-being of all of us. Once more, I'd like to thank UNEP's Cartagena Convention Secretariat for their leadership in providing biodiversity solutions to better manage our ecosystems, providing capacity building scientific evidence, policy guidance in relevant biodiversity matters such as marine protected areas, sargassum, marine mammals, ecosystem-based management approaches, corals and coral reef management, mangroves and seagrasses over the last biennium. The Bahamas looks forward to participating in the deliberations and learning from your insights and the joint commitment for the protection and the development of the biodiversity and marine environment of the wider Caribbean. Thank you very much.
Thank you, His Excellency, Minister Ferreira. For us, it was such a pleasure to have these opening remarks that are really hallmarks highlighting the most crucial and important issues for the biodiversity. You have really given us an excellent start, and we are very enthusiastic about your opening remarks. Thank you, and we appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you.